Attorney General in California. I think the first thing one would say to you is good luck. But what you see in Los Alamitos, Eric, is a beautiful, lawful, constitutional thing. As a candidate for AG in California, you support this?
Oh, Los Alamitos, I consider to be the brave pioneers of the state of California. The minute they came out and announced that they were going to be doing this a couple weeks ago, I was right out front supporting them. And it's been spreading really like a prairie fire around Southern California. One city after another, one county after another are joining in. They're either opting out of the sanctuary state law or joining in the Sessions lawsuit against the state. I completely support it. The sanctuary state law is unconstitutional. It violates the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution, and that's why the federal government's lawsuit against California is on very good standing. And no attorney general of our state of California should be supporting an unconstitutional law, which is what our present attorney general is doing.
Right,
so I support these people.
I want to talk about him in just a moment, but first, you have an R next to your name, which handicaps you in California to try and get elected to any elected office. What is the path of victory in a nutshell? What is the path of victory for someone like yourself in a state of California which is dominated by liberal Democrats?
You know, Graham, I'm reaching out across the entire state. I'm meeting with people up and down our great state. And people of all political persuasions are starting to figure out that Sacramento, where I'm sitting right now, even though it's a beautiful city physically, the government here is completely out of control. And so we're getting support across the board, and many of these people are against the sanctuary state law. In fact, it's my understanding that a majority of Californians never supported the sanctuary state law in the first place. So we can actually win. The media, unlike with the limited exception of stations like yours, the mass media is missing it. Because what's going on in California is, as I said, this uprising. People are taking democracy now into their own hands out here because they've had it.
And this despite the current Attorney General, who has completely weaponized the Department of Justice in the great state of California to become this anti-Trump machine. And speaking of that, the president tweeted about what Moonbeam decided, and that is, sending National Guard troops to the border, but, effectively tying their hands. What's the point of sending them to the border if they're not having to do with anything that's immigration? And the president says, looks like Jerry Brown in California are not looking for safety and security along their very porous border. He cannot come to terms for the National Guard to patrol and protect the border. The high crime rate will only get higher. Much wanted wall in San Diego already started. So let's say you're elected, and the way it's set up in California, you could have a Democrat governor. So you would be serving under a Democrat governor, and the Democrat governor, puts his imprimatur on sanctuary laws, or has these other laws they may proffer that aids and abets illegal immigrants, or whatever is unconstitutional or lawless. What do you do in a situation like that as AG?
Listen, it's a big lift out here because it's been many, many years of this one-party rule that's out of control. But first of all, Mr. Becerra, who's the president attorney general, he wasn't elected. He's an arrogant man. He's only been in office now for a little over a year. We've lost count out here. He's filed about 30 lawsuits in a year against the federal government. One of the first things I do is I go through every one of those lawsuits and I figure out which one of those lawsuits I'm going to dismiss immediately, because a plaintiff, in this case, is the people of great state of California, had those lawsuits filed in their name. A plaintiff can file a lawsuit. Plaintiff can also dismiss a lawsuit. First one I dismissed, by the way, is one where Becerra is trying to stop the building of the wall because we need to secure our borders. But we need a common sense Republican voice up here in Sacramento, especially if this governor-elect, this candidate who's being suggested as the potential winner, Mr. Newsom, wins. We have to have a common sense Republican voice, and I will work and I will do everything I can to keep the abuse of one-party control up there in check. We need checks and balances in this state. I will work with the legislators to the effect that I can. I want to say to everybody out there, we have incredible Republican legislators up here in Sacramento, many of whom are supporting me. Their hands have been tied for years. State Senate Republican leader Pat Bates, incredible woman. They need somebody's help from the Attorney General's office. They'll be getting it. I'm going to be speaking long, loud, and often when I'm elected.
Yeah.